morning, guys. My name is Miss Dupree. I'm going to be your reading teacher for this week. This week, we're going to be working on a formative task called the Giant Pacific Octopus. Today, you're going to need a pencil and a paper. So if you do not have those materials next to you, go ahead and pause this video so that you can get them. All right, the first thing I want to kind of go over is a KWL chart. You guys have probably seen one of these before. So it basically tracks what we know, what we want to learn, and what we do learn, okay? So I filled out the first two columns. I already know that an octopus has 8 arms, and I know that it lives in the ocean. What I want to know is, what do they eat? What are the body parts besides their legs, and where they live in the ocean? Do they live close to the shore? Do they live far out? Is there only a particular oceans that they live in? So after today, I'm going to come back and then I'm going to fill in what I learned, okay? So this is where your pencil and paper is going to come in handy because you're going to be writing stuff that you're learning about the giant Pacific octopus. I'm going to read the book to you in just a minute. And when we're reading, I want you to be looking for facts about these things. Facts about their size, their dens and hiding places, food, their arms, mantles, suckers, and how they hide and their enemies, okay? So we're going to be looking for facts all about this. And the reason we're going to be looking for all this information on the giant Pacific octopus is because this week you're going to be doing a narrative story, all right? You're going to write a narrative about an octopus. This will be a fictitious writing, all right? So it's something that is make-believe, something that you're making up. But we're going to read the informational books and learn facts about the giant Pacific octopus to help us with our writing, all right? So you're going to have a writing prompt, and it's going to be about how a giant Pacific octopus is trying to hide from his enemies, and he sees a jar of clams, and he wants to be able to open the jar of clams. So we need to figure out how they hide, where they hide, how they could get to the jar of clams, and how they would open it, okay? So that's why we're trying to learn for a lot of information on the giant Pacific octopus, because in our writing, it will help us be able to say it. So a little bit of vocabulary before we get started. The giant Pacific octopus is the world's largest octopus. Suckers, they're like fingers. They help feel and grab food and rocks. And then the mantle is a part of the body. All right. So these are a few words that we might see today. So the first thing I want to do is I want to read the whole book to you guys, and then we're going to focus on one area so that we can kind of make sure that we're learning everything about that one area. So I'm going to read this book to you guys. Ocean giant. The giant Pacific octopus is the world's largest octopus. This ocean giant has 8 arms. Each arm can grow up to 16 feet long. With its arms stretched out, the octopus is about as long as a minivan. It says a large male giant Pacific octopus can weigh more than 100 pounds. One of the largest ever caught weighed more than 400 pounds. A watery world. The giant Pacific octopus lives in the Pacific Ocean. It usually lives in shallow water near the coast, yet it may also live in water that is up to 5,000 feet deep. There are about 250 different kinds of octopuses. The smallest is called the octopus wolfie. It is only about the size of a penny. And here's a little map over here where the giant Pacific octopus lives. So we are learning a little bit. This is the country that we live in right here, and it looks like they're near the states of like Oregon and Washington. And then it goes all the way over to Asia. So gives us an idea of where we could find the giant Pacific octopus. Odd bodies. The giant Pacific octopus is an odd-looking animal. Its 8 long arms are attached to its head. Above the octopus's head is a body part called the mantle. Shaped like a sack, the mantle contains the stomach and other important body parts. The giant Pacific octopus has 2 rows of up to 280 suckers on each arm. The suckers help the octopus feel and grab onto rocks as well as taste food. Here's a little diagram for us. So we're learning more about one of the things I wanted to know about was the different body parts. Tiny dens. Like all octopuses, the giant Pacific octopus does not have any bones in its body. As a result, it can squeeze into small holes or cracks in underwater rocks. The giant Pacific octopus uses these small rocky places as its home or den. When resting, the octopus hides in its den. The only hard part of an octopus's body is its beak, which is found at the bottom of its body in its mouth. Dinner. When it is hungry, the giant Pacific octopus leaves its den to hunt for food. Crabs, clams, and other animals with hard shells are a few of its favorites. The octopus uses its strong beak to bite open its victim's shell. When it's bite, the octopus also sends poison into the victim to make it stop moving. After that, the octopus brings the meal back to its den to eat. After it has eaten, the octopus pushes any empty shells out of its den. The pile of shells is known as a midden or an octopus garden. Changing color. The giant Pacific octopus is hunted by many animals. Seals, sea otters, and whales are just a few of the animals that will kill and eat it. Luckily, the octopus has a way of hiding from its enemies, even after leaving its den. It can quickly change its body color in order to blend in with its surroundings. The giant Pacific octopus can change the look and feel of its skin to help it hide in the ocean. For example, it can make its skin appear smooth or bumpy. An inky getaway. Sometimes a giant Pacific octopus is spotted by an enemy. When this happens, the octopus can play another trick with color. It squirts a cloud of black ink out of its body. The dark cloud makes it hard for the octopus's attacker to see it. Meanwhile, the octopus has enough time to escape. An octopus can move quickly by pumping water out of a tube-shaped body part called a siphon. The octopus sucks in the water to fill the mantle and then pushes the water out to shoot itself forward. From eggs to adults. Female octopuses lay up to 75,000 eggs in the underwater dens. The mother hangs the eggs in strings from the ceiling. Then they watch over them until they hatch. When the babies come out, they are tiny. It will take 3 years for the baby octopus to grow to its full size. Only 1 or 2 out of every 50,000 baby octopuses live to become adults. The rest are eaten by other animals. Big and smart. Giant Pacific octopuses hide a lot. It's hard for scientists to study them. At aquariums, however, scientists can watch them up close. They have seen the animals learn new tasks and solve puzzles. These sea creatures are not just big and shy, they are also smart and curious. Says some giant Pacific octopuses have learned to twist the lids off jars in order to get food that has been placed inside. And then here's a little bit more about some of the other larger giant Pacific octopuses. So now let's kind of look in depth at a certain area, all right? So let's think about the size first, all right? What I want us to look at is it talks about how the giant Pacific octopus is the world's largest. And it says that its arms can grow up to 16 feet long. With its arms stretched out, the octopus is as long as a minivan. And then in the small caption, it talks about how the giant Pacific octopus, when it's a male, can weigh more than 100 pounds. And one of the largest ever caught was more than 400 pounds. So I want you to take that pencil and paper, and I want you to write me one fact about the size of the giant Pacific octopus. Go ahead and pause the video so that you have time to go do that. All right, the next thing we're going to be talking about is habitat, a watery world. So the giant Pacific octopus lives in the Pacific Ocean. It usually lives in shallow water near the coast, and yet it can also live in water that is up to 5,000 feet deep. There are about 250 different kinds of octopuses. And then we can see the map over there where you can find the giant Pacific octopus. So I want you to go ahead and pause the video and write down one fact about the habitat in which the giant Pacific octopus lives. Now we're going to learn a little bit more about their bodies. The giant Pacific octopus is an odd-looking animal. Its 8 long arms are attached to its head. Above the octopus's head is a body part called the mantle. Shaped like a sack, the mantle contains the stomach and other important body parts. The giant Pacific octopus has 2 rows of up to 280 suckers on each arm. The suckers help the octopus feel and grab onto rocks as well as taste food. So now you're going to need to write me one fact about the giant Pacific octopus's body. You can write about the arms, the mantle, the suckers, or maybe you want to write about all of them. Go ahead and pause the video so you have a chance to go and write that down before we move on. All right, so we're going to go back now to that KWL chart like I told you guys, and we're going to copy down what we've learned today. So I did answer and learn some of the things I wanted to know. It said, what did they eat? We learned that they liked clams, crabs and other small shelled animals. Let's see, we learned the body parts besides their legs. They have, well, their legs or their arms, whichever one we want to call them. So they have a mantle, a head, a siphon, and a beak, which is interesting because I would have not thought that the giant Pacific octopus had a beak. And it says where they live in the ocean. Let's see, they live in the Pacific Ocean. And then I'll try and raise this up a little bit so you guys can see. All right, and you could also include how they could live in shallow or very deep water. So they're kind of versatile in that area. So we added to the KWL chart now. So we did the things that we knew. We answered all the questions of what I wanted to learn. And now I've copied those down. These are some of the facts that you guys may have written down on your paper, okay? I want you to keep up with this paper all week because every day we're going to be adding more facts to it. And then we're going to use all the facts that you have down to help us with that fictitious writing. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow morning.